God, we should have my own roast special.
It's time for the Timeless Cinema Podcast with your host, Caleb Boatman, and a thumb that came to life.
God. Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the Timeless Cinema Podcast. A thumb. I like that, I guess.
You ever see the movie Spy Kids?
Yes, I remember.
Those thumb dials that Alan Cumming controls.
I do. Especially when I remember when I shaved my head, all my friends would call me that. The thumb. God. All right, guys. Well, that was a certain way to start off with. Welcome to the Timeless Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Day. My co-host is the Jonah Hill of The Wolf of Wall Street to my Leonardo DiCaprio's Jordan Belfort. He would absolutely 100% piss in a trash can if we were wanted by the FBI. Ladies and gentlemen, Caleb Little Boatman. How are you, my buddy?
I'm doing all right. I think I'm the Michael Cera to your Jonah Hill.
I was thinking,
but we can go with what you will. Whatever analogy you please. When Chris asked me if he wanted to do this podcast, Patton Oswalt has a saying where, he wants to do things for the artistic nature of it, but he also wants to do things so he's able to tell a good story about it, which is why he likes working with Wesley Snipes and Nicolas Cage. Well, Chris Day is the closest thing I have to a Nicolas Cage. So there you go.
Oh, take that as a compliment, man. That's amazing. Nicolas Cage. I should put that.
Boring. That's working with you is going to be a lot of things. Won't be boring.
Yeah, it's amazing because before we get started with the podcast and the episode, we've known each other for a long time, a couple months now, I would say, because we do joke, and we had this funny little rivalry thing going on, and it was the funniest thing ever. I think it was not just that, but not just the fact with Jay and Chris and all of us. It was probably the funniest thing with us because each time, you guys who don't understand this, Boatman likes to make me laugh like fucking ridiculously, and I like to ridiculous, and Boatman likes to laugh at anything I say because anything I say is considered a meme. That's the funniest thing about it. But for us, what people don't realize, besides of, with me, Joe is a character. This dude is ridiculous. That's a character.
I don't buy that, but okay.
Yeah, ha. People that don't know me, well, Boatman knows I'm very dedicated to film. I think that's, when we start off with this, I'm very dedicated to film. I make my own short films. I'm, constantly a controversy, even with my films. But for me, my love for film has started since I was 4 years old. And that's what we're start with. I love film since I was 4. So we wanted to create this podcast because we just see something different in film that many people don't. And to bring that in with this kind of new idea with an older movie and newer movie, it's awesome.
Let's kind of explain what the podcast is, because we haven't really done that.
Let's do that. So but before we start that, you go ahead and tell people, for your first question for me with you, is go ahead and tell people, how did you become in love film, and what was the first film you ever saw that kind of made you want to be in the industry like myself? For me, it was probably 2001: A Space Odyssey, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I got two answers. The first movie I ever loved was probably The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
No, Disney. Yeah. But the movie that made me love movies, made me obsessed with movies, was 2010's my favorite movie, Inception.
I didn't know that was your favorite movie. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've told you that before. People always forget Inception.
Yes, you did. Because I remember telling you Leonardo DiCaprio is my favorite person next to The Rock on Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think of that as a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. He's the star. But I think of that as Christopher Nolan is him. I think of Leonardo DiCaprio, I think of The Aviator and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, movies where he's giving amazing performances. He's great in Inception, but it's not an amazing.
No, he's terrific in Inception. I've been trying to watch that again for the past couple of days, but I can't find a copy anywhere. So I gotta try to find a copy because the library doesn't have one.
Now
Amazon doesn't have one.
Yeah. Now let's
But before we get into that, guys, we're gonna talk about what this show is. After we're done with this show, we might do an episode or something, or we might talk about like what we want to do in the industry someday. So maybe for like the next, maybe the third episode, we might just do that. But for this episode, we're mainly going to discuss what it is. But I'm going to let Little Boat over here, which I love that nickname. I'm going to let him discuss and tell you what our podcast is about.
Yeah. Okay. So what we do is we take a classic film, basically something that came out pre-1980, and then a modern film, something that came out post-1980. And we kind of take two films. Typically, we don't want to do something that came out in 1979 and 1981 because they're too close together, but movies that have some distance between them that are similar and can be connected in some way. You know, it doesn't really matter what the specific way is, but there's some sort of connection between them. So this week we got Rashomon and we got Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Now these are both films
which we both just saw.
What?
Which we both just saw.
Yes. Well, yeah, I saw Rashomon about 2 weeks ago. I saw Before the Devil Knows You're Dead like a couple days ago. But yeah, so we both watched these movies recently, and there's some thematic connections with the structure, but let's just get into it, start talking about the first one, Rashomon. This film came out in 1950. It was directed by Akira Kurosawa. Was not nominated for any Oscars.
It won an honorary Oscar.
Wait, it did? Oh, yeah, that's right.
It won an honorary Oscar for Best Foreign Film, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris, why don't you give everybody the plot of Rashomon?
Okay. For me, I think with Rashomon, the story itself is very hard to describe. Okay, because there's two. I'll have you give the plot, and then I'm going to give my analysis on the film. But you go ahead and give the story. Okay. Because it's very hard to describe.
I don't think it's very hard to describe, but I'll so basically
without spoiling it, I say it is, but it's a great one.
Maybe I don't know. So the plot is basically there was a murder that was committed. That's like the main big conflicting story. A murder was committed. And we are unsure, we're not unsure, but basically they've got three witnesses telling about how this murder happened. And all their stories differ, and we get to see each of their three stories play out. We've got the perspective of the wife. We get the perspective of the bandit that tries to rob the husband and wife. And we've got the perspective of the dead husband. Who is the victim, but we get to see him through kind of this medium psychic person. So we get to see those three stories play out, and they all differ, and that's pretty much all you can say without spoiling anything.
Yeah, which we won't spoil the movies if you guys haven't seen them. I mean, we'll go into certain things. We're not going to spoil Rashomon because I think that it's an older movie most people haven't seen, but we are going to spoil Before the Devil Knows You're Dead because I think that's a really hard film to discuss for me. It is without spoiling it.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit into Rashomon because I really want to interpret kind of specific events, but I think it's a little bit hard to spoil Rashomon.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really have...
It's simple.
It's a very simple film because it has three defined stories, each with their own kind of simple ending. So I think...
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I like that idea too. So why don't we go ahead and I will have you start off first with Rashomon, and then when we do Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, I'll start off with that.
Okay, yeah, I'll start off I've been talking so much. Why don't you start off with Rashomon?
Okay, sounds good. For me, I think not just the fact that this film has had so much inspiration. I mean, that this film itself is terrific. I think that it's hard to describe what is Akira Kurosawa's film because his best film obviously is Seven Samurai, but his second film, for me, I would say is this. I think Rashomon is a huge influential film in cinema. I think this is a movie that many people don't. It's very underlooked when you're talking about some of the greatest films ever made because this film is so different. It's not afraid to take risks. It's not afraid to be different in a way of its storytelling, of its performances, especially from Toshire Moon. I think that's how you pronounce his name, who I think is one of my favorite actors, period. I love that dude. He's incredible.
Which I don't remember the actors' names. Which one are you talking about?
He was the one with the beard.
What?
I think he wasn't the bandit. He was the main character.
I thought the bandit was, well, is it the guy from Seven Samurai?
It's the guy from Seven Samurai, yeah, with the beard.
Then yeah, that is the bandit.
Is that the bandit?
Okay. Yeah, you know the guy who's like crazy and he's...
Well, I didn't get to watch the film because I have to watch it anyway next week for class.
That would have been information I'd like to know.
But
okay.
I talk about it because I've seen the movie. But that being said, I've seen the film. The movie is terrific. I think it really is. I've seen it twice.
I don't quite remember it that well. That's what you're saying.
No, not that well.
Okay, no, but I'll kind of get into my... Then I'm kind of going to need to spoil some stuff. If I need to... So, spoiler alert.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to give the 5-second warning. And if you guys haven't seen this film, do not stay away. And I guess I'll have Boatman dance or something to kind of say, hey, we're done talking spoilers.
Yeah. I don't want them to stay away. So I'm not going to spoil it. But
yeah.
But just be wary. Be aware. So,
well, like I said, like that, I'm still going to have Bowman dance around just to say, hey, we're talking about a certain amount of things. And if you don't want to know anything.
Yeah. Maybe you should be dancing since I'm the one talking and it's kind of hard for me to talk.
How about I do that? Okay, fine. I'll do it for you. But you go ahead and talk until you're done and then I'll dance around like a fucking idiot.
Okay. So, key thing about Rashomon is that all three of the stories are different. But all three stories, actually there are 4 stories because you also get to hear what might be the real story from like this woodworker who saw everything from a distance. So he's the only one who has no real emotional connection to the story. But the 3 like stories told by the people participating in them, especially ones by the bandit and the wife, they both kind of paint themselves as bad people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. And the one with the actual victim, the samurai, that one, he doesn't really paint himself in a bad light as much as his wife, but he doesn't, nobody comes out of this looking like the good guy in any story.
Yeah.
So the bandit, though, in each version, there's always a duel between the bandit and the other guy. You know, there's always a duel between the bandit and the victim, the samurai. And how good the fight is always...
The fight's amazing.
Yeah, but the fight, well, there are 3 fights. And they're always different based on who is telling the story. So the quality of the fight changes. The quality of the fight in the bandit's story is the best. That one...
Absolutely, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Has the best fight, and it makes sense because the bandit has this kind of weird self-pride about killing the victim, so he'd kind of want to make himself look impressive by fighting with this guy and saying he fought very well. So that's a really interesting choice in the story right there. The fight with the wife, I can't quite remember what the fight was like, because this thing I remember about the wife's story is, you know, that she kind of... the interesting thing about the bandit is it kind of leaves out much mention of the wife, you know? Yeah,
it does. And it does very terrifically in my eyes, I think.
Yeah. So the wife kind of has her story. I don't remember the actress's name, but she is doing a great job. She is fantastic, kind of selling these different versions of the same character, and it really works. And I think each of the three versions, you can kind of tell they're all lies, you know, especially from if you believe the woodworker, which I think kind of the thing about lies is, are they lying and they know they're lying, or did they trick themselves into believing something else, you know? I think that's the most interesting point in this whole story. And I really think that the bandit is lying. Like, straight up lying.
Yeah, I did too.
He's lying.
Absolutely.
I think the wife and maybe the husband might have convinced themselves that it went the way they're saying it.
Yeah.
I think those people aren't lying as much. So that's kind of where this whole thing gets tricky. And then you see what the woodworker's testimony is, which, if it's to be believed, it kind of makes everyone look horrible, and you can really see why they all lied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
which they do.
It's really just bad fight between the two, and the only reason it's happening is because the wife is basically saying it has to happen because they're cowards, and you know, the wife just looks like a horrible person. The bandit looks weak. The man looks weak. Everybody just looks bad. Yeah. And you can really see why everybody would be lying. So it makes quite a bit of sense.
It's very much a terrific movie.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting, you know, story on the nature of truth.
Yes, absolutely.
And what is truth really? Just fascinating. And there's this little bit at the end where you've got the people, because the main setup is like, because there are different layers of story in this. We know that there's like a traveler who comes in and meets with a woodworker and a priest, and the woodworker and the priest are kind of disturbed. It's because they've heard all these three different stories that don't match up, and they don't understand. And then they're basically telling this traveler all through those stories. And then it comes that basically at the end, they hear a baby crying. And they're like, what's going on? And the traveler basically steals the thing that it might have been a kimono, I don't know, that the baby was wrapped up in.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. He steals that the baby was wrapped up in. And the woodworker gets upset at him, and then he is kind of like, well, I know that you were stealing something, so you're calling me a thief, you're a thief. And that little interaction makes me doubt the woodworker's story being true. Because he's saying they're all liars. He's making accusations, and another time he makes an unfortunate accusation about being a thief. He's revealed to be a liar and a thief. So that could mean that his fourth story also a lie.
Yeah, agreed. And I think a lot of that had a lot of influential. I mean, we take a look at what this movie had influentially wise. I would say 12 Angry Men is a big one. And that's another Sidney Lumet. Because I don't think, and here's the thing about that. If you look at what based on the story told, this movie has a ton of inspiration. I mean, you can even say based on its kind of story, Pulp Fiction, the one we'll talk about before The Devil Knows You're Dead.
Wait, we're talking about Pulp Fiction? What?
No, not. No, I'm talking about similarities with Rashomon.
Yeah. I was going to say, when we kind of get to talking about Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, there were quite a few movies that I considered pairing with Rashomon. And
yeah,
talk about that. But what were you saying about how it connects to 12 Angry Men? Because I don't understand that one at all.
For me, story, you don't know. But for me, parts of that, I think what Cindy Luet's translation is you're kind of through like the eyes of the men who kind of tell you you, hey, something happened the other. Kind of similarity to me is kind of that, but the difference is for me with this, you don't if the boy is guilty. And this, you know what's going on. For me, I think that there's like a chain of events with 12 Angry Men and Rashomon based on story. Does that make sense?
Actually, yeah, I think that does kind of make sense. Because you
I'm not just an idiot.
Witnesses, so it makes sense. I don't think it makes it's as close of a connection as to some of the other movies, some of the other ones we'll talk about. But I do think, now that I hear your argument, that does make a little bit of sense. So do we want to move on to Before the Devil Knows You're Dead?
Yes. But before we do, we'll do that then right now. So we're going to go ahead. Did you want me to dance like an idiot? I thought we were going to do that. I was all ready.
Sure. I don't think it really matters because I didn't really spoil
I don't give a shit. Just, I want you to play the clown music in It when he's dancing in the freaking well. I'm going to do that.
I don't think we need to take the time to get music up or anything. I think we're going to be fine.
That being said, everybody missed out on me being a complete fucking idiot.
We want to keep this moving. We don't want that.
I know. We're just kidding. We're kidding. No. So, but yeah, spoilers for that is done. Now spoilers for Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which is directed by the late Sidney Lumet, one of the greatest directors of all time. I think it's clear to say that. This film is a masterpiece in my eyes.
All right.
I think it's an underlooked film.
Talk about some of the films that I considered comparing with Rashomon. Yeah. To kind of
let's go ahead and do that. I'll start off then with that one. For me, a lot of A Fistful of Dollars. I think it's safe to say Fistful of Dollars has a lot of inspiration because they have said that.
No, that was Yojimbo. That was Yojimbo.
Is that Yojimbo?
Yeah, okay. Yojimbo was the one that was A Fistful of Dollars.
Okay, well, don't listen to me then. But we go ahead.
Yeah, so I considered, Pulp Fiction. I considered that one because of
I agree with that.
Narrative storylines. I think the most obvious one that came to mind first was Vantage Point with Dennis Quaid.
I haven't seen that. No, I've heard of that. I heard it was not good at all.
Yeah, it's not great. So that's why I didn't, think that was good. But it's very closely related to Rashomon in that you're hearing all these different witness testimonies and they don't really match up. But the difference is they kind of remove all the philosophical and emotional elements from it, and it's more just a straight thriller. So it doesn't quite work as well. I considered Memento because it puts you kind of in this same spot that your characters are in, and you're seeing the world through the main character's eyes in Memento.
Which one?
Memento.
Memento? Oh, yeah. I see that.
And 100%. I consider Adaptation with Nicolas Cage because
I agree with that.
Is about the nature of storytelling, which is what they're doing in Rashomon. And it's about it's about storytelling and the theme of how our stories kind of translate, especially the third act of Adaptation, where the story kind of stops being true to real life. And we find out that Donald Kaufman, the fictional brother who loves, who's more of a traditional blockbuster writer, the film becomes more like a traditional blockbuster. And we know that he's writing this part, which is fascinating. So the movie changes based on who's writing it, which I love. But better than all those is the film from 2007, directed by Sidney Lumet, starring Philip Seymour Hoffman, starring Ethan Hawke, Michael Shannon, Albert Finney, Rosemary Harris, Marissa Tomei. Did I already say Michael Shannon?
No.
Okay, Michael Shannon. That's all I can think of. It's Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Which I think, and I'm going to say this, I think this is an underlooked masterpiece. If you're talking about the top 3 best films of 2007.
Yeah, I would say this is one of the best movies of that
year. This is it for me. Yeah, top 3. I would say my number 1 is There Will Be Blood, and then No Country for Old Men, which are like back and back, and then this. Because
I
I
would
think
reverse
with
your
the
first two, and then it would be There Will Be Blood, and then I'd probably go Hot Fuzz, Juno. But
yeah,
those
going on.
we have the same
Yeah.
top three then, but just in a
Yes.
slightly different order. But yeah,
Yes.
Before the Devil
But
Knows
yeah,
You're Dead, it's
you want to go or you want me to go?
I started Rashomon, so you talk about Before the Devil give us the plot.
Okay. So for me, the plot is this one's tricky. So spoilers if you have not seen Before the Devil Knows You're There. Okay. So what this film basically is about is Philip Seymour Hoffman is a broker. He needs his brother, played by Ethan Hawke, to rob a jewelry store that is owned by their parents. Unfortunately, the thing does not go the way they do, and Aunt May, played by Rosemary Harry, who's Aunt May in the Spider-Man films, is apparently killed, which is unfortunate. Oh, she goes into a coma. But the partner of his, Bobby, Michael Shannon's brother, is shot and killed. And so now they have this whole string of possibilities where Albert Finney is investigating himself. We find out that Philip Seymour Hoffman's wife, played by the incredibly hot Marissa Tomei, Aunt May again. I love it. There's two Aunt Mays. I just realized that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I just fucking realized that. We're so.
Why isn't Sally Field in this movie? We could have all three.
I don't want to see Sally Fields, and we'll talk about the one scene. But
yeah, nobody wants to see that. But I'm just saying that Sally Field, if we had all three, and we could have had all three Aunt Mays in this movie.
So basically, the thing goes wrong. We find out that Marissa Tomei is fucking Ethan Hawke, his brother, behind her back. They've been doing it for about 30 years, and basically, a lot of shit happens.
Yeah.
For me, the one thing that I say is a negative, and this has nothing to do with the film, but I had to see Philip Seymour's ass in the very beginning for a good minute.
that is not fun. But let's.
I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with seeing Marissa Tomei naked. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of The Wrestler. But for me, I think that the film itself is an underlooked masterpiece. This is so sad to say that this is Sidney Lumet's last film, because I don't think there's ever been a movie for me that is the last film that is equally, possibly, maybe even, I wouldn't say, it might be the best Sidney Lumet film I've ever seen. And I hate to say that.
I disagree.
But for me,
I think he's done.
There's so many great ones.
I would probably put Dog Day Afternoon above that.
Yeah.
And I would put 12 Angry Men above this.
See, it's so hard. I would say 12 Angry Men.
Network.
Yeah, I think Network is his best. I do. But for me, I think this is better than 12 Angry Men. I'm sorry, people. Don't be attacking
12
me.
12 Angry Men is my second favorite movie, Chris. I'm about to stab you with this protractor.
I mean, the 400 Blows is mine, and Pulp Fiction's right after that. So for me, there's just something about the way this film is constructed story-wise, screenplay-wise, because it wasn't Sidney Lumet. I have the case actually right here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the story structure.
To figure out
talk about that.
Who wrote it?
The story structure.
Trying to talk about that wife and fuck.
Is it basically you see things from one character's perspective for a time, and then it goes back and shows you that same period of time, but from different characters' perspective, and each different perspective puts the scenes into a new context, and you're like, oh, like there's a scene where Marissa Tomei is calling somebody, and you think, oh, she's just talking to one of her friends or something, and then you go back and you realize it's Ethan Hawke. Chris, you froze up.
Never heard of that name before, but she writes this terrific.
I didn't hear a word you said.
Which I don't think I've ever heard of that name before.
What terrific. Name? I don't know what you're. What are you talking about?
I said we were talking about the script. I was trying to find out who wrote the script.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The script is written by Kelly Masterson.
I think he
who
wrote
I've never.
Snowpiercer.
Did he?
I'll look it up. You keep talking, and I'll look it up.
Well, I think for me, the script itself should have been nominated. I don't think it was nominated for any Oscars.
This
but
movie
I think for me,
did not get nominated for a single Oscar, and I want to talk about that and my theories why that didn't happen. But let's just talk about the movie itself first.
The movie itself for me is it's a masterpiece. I think for me, the performances itself are fantastic. This is really an amazing performance by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is terrific in this film. Ethan Hawke is terrific, but for me, the guy who steals the film for me, I think it's going to shock you. It's Albert Finney. This is the best that Albert Finney's ever been. And even the end of The Bourne Ultimatum is right up there as well. But this might be the best I've seen Albert Finney. And yes, the two Aunt Mays are very good as well.
Yeah. I agree with you. Philip Seymour, to me, Philip Seymour Hoffman is the MVP of this movie. That's just
Albert Finney, but it's close.
I think Albert Finney's doing a great job. He's working with Sidney Lumet again because in 1974 he worked with him in the film in the original Murder on the Orient Express, where he plays the main detective.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. It's on my list. I probably might watch it tonight.
It's a good movie. It's on Amazon Prime, I think. But anyway, that's another film directed by Sidney Lumet. But Albert Finney is doing a great job in this. He's the father of Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ethan Hawke. But a person, he's only in this movie for 2 minutes probably, but he does steal the scenes that he's in. It's Michael Shannon. You can see why he became Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon. I would say this. Caleb has a huge man crush for Michael Shannon like I do for Leo.
I do not have a man crush. This is the first time I've ever talked about Michael Shannon.
He is one of the best actors out here, though. I would 100%. Yeah.
I wouldn't call him one of the best actors out there, but I think Michael Shannon is a great actor.
I would say now.
And I think he does steal the scene he's in.
I would go ahead and I would say he is terrific in this film, but I would 100% say he's one of the best actors if you look at this decade. I mean, this decade, this generation alone, besides Leo's obviously at the top, now that Daniel Day-Lewis is no longer acting, I would 100% put Michael Shannon in that caliber. I would put him in that. I think he's terrific in this film.
To be fair, I've seen Take Shelter, so yeah, I've seen Take Shelter,
but he's also fantastic in a little film with my boy Leo in Revolutionary Road, which he got nominated for an Oscar for. So,
yeah,
which we need to talk about eventually. But for me, I think the thing about this film is that each performance itself is great. His sister is fucking fantastic as well.
Oh, yeah, played by Amy Ryan, Holly from The Office. Or wait, no. She plays Ethan Hawke's ex-wife. Sorry, my bad.
Yes. No, the sister of his, who's the sister of Bobby, is also terrific as well. This film is incredibly shot well, especially for the city of New York, which I've said this before. I have an incredible love for the city of New York. My goal is to go to NYU. That is my goal in life with making films. I really want to go to NYU. I'm currently in film school in London now. But for me, they talked about what is a script that you think is very underutilized today in class. I said, Before the Devil Knows You're There. Because there's something
you're there.
Before Your Devil Knows You're Dead. There's so many fucking movies. You Were Never Really Here, which I think is the best one of the year. But for me, I think that there is something about this film that is so uniquely written, that is so uniquely well done, that is terrific with its performances, with its writing, with its direction by the late Sidney Lumet and his final film, may I add you? I mean, this film should at least been nominated for Best Director, maybe Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor for maybe even Ethan Hawke and Albert Finney. Best Screenplay, that and Juno, but I think this is a better script than Juno. I 100% do.
Yeah, I think this probably should have been. I don't know if I can give the nomination for original screenplay because I think there are a lot of great original screenplays.
Can you look up where were the top 5 for the Oscars that year?
Well, as far as, compared to what was nominated, it should have gotten nomination, but I think there were 5 original screenplays. I would say Juno, Ratatouille, Hot Fuzz, Superbad, Walk Hard. I'd say all 5 of those movies are unique enough.
Half of those are stoner comedies.
Two of them are.
They're
and
terrific.
they're both Superbad captured the dialogue and the way teenagers are better than almost any other movie.
It's like my second favorite comedy ever, I would say, Superbad.
And then Walk Hard is an incredible spoof of but that's not what we're talking about. I think Sidney Lumet should have been nominated for director, and I think Hoffman should have been nominated for actor. And it should have been nominated for Best Picture. But here's why I think it wasn't. I think because we already had a dark, gritty crime drama that came out in 2007 that was called No Country for Old Men. Yes. And I think that took kind of all the buzz away from Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, because they're kind of similar in that they're these dark, gritty crime dramas that have kind of depressing endings. And so I think that's why it kind of makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but I feel like in the minds of the Academy, No Country for Old Men, just because when they came out, I think had Before the Devil Knows You're Dead come out like in 2008, probably would have gotten nominated.
See, for me, the thing is, I don't think it's No Country for Old Men. I think the movie that came at that right time that took it out was Michael Clayton, because that's another crime film. For me, Michael Clayton.
You're right.
For me, Michael Clayton was the film that knocked out contention Before the Devil Knows You're There, because Michael Clayton's great. Don't get me wrong. Michael Clayton's great. But for me, it's more of a performance film than it is a regular film. For me, this movie has everything going right for it. If Michael Clayton didn't come out, I think there is a highly shot, because if you look at the films that were nominated, No Country for Old Men, Juno, There Will Be Blood, Atonement, and we just said it.
I know you said all five.
Right, yeah. But for me, if nominated to 10, I think there's a good shot.
Those are the five. But yeah, I think that, I think really the fact that there were two crime dramas that came out, I think this movie holds up better than Michael Clayton. Because I think Michael Clayton now, I don't know, I think it just doesn't.
It's more of a performance film than anything.
What?
It's more of a performance movie than anything.
I think that's true. I think Before the Devil Knows You're Dead is doing some really unique stuff with, the timelines and the narrative structure and the characters. I think it's a much better movie than Michael Clayton. Michael Clayton's good, but I think Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, as you said, is an overlooked masterwork. It's a fantastic film. I kind of want to talk about the connections now between Rashomon and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Go ahead.
So, you've got two films that have these structures where you're going back and you're looking at the same events, somewhat. And they both got kind of depressing endings. But one is making, kind of has a little bit more of a statement that it's trying to make with Rashomon. I think Before the Devil Knows You're Dead isn't like not trying to make a statement, but I don't think there's like a very clear statement, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Rashomon is making a very clear philosophical message. And I'm not saying that Before the Devil Knows You're Dead should have a message. I think, it is kind of in the vein of No Country for Old Men in that it's a little bit nihilistic. It's a little bit... What?
Agreed.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a nihilistic movie. And, that's why I think that's the biggest difference between, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead and Rashomon. But there are unsavory stories in both of murder and, corruption and all that. But, yeah, man, I mean, they're both great movies. I think I would give the edge to the new movie that we're talking about, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I think that's the one, the newer, I should say. It's 10 years old at this point. But newer, it's I think it just hits me in a spot that's just like, wow. I was not ready for that movie. It was great.
No, I don't think we all are. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for the first two of the films we're talking about. Now, I want to do something. I want you to hear me out on this.
All right.
I want to do something that is different when we're talking about picking our films. So what we're going to do each week is we are going to have basically a debate, and one of us is going to give us two films, and we're going to talk about either a pass or a yes. Now, if we say the yes, that would be our two films for next week. So this week, I'm going to do that, and if you say pass, I am going to let you choose the two films you think. All right. Now, I have two gangster films that I think we should talk about next week. I think that we should talk about the 1932 masterpiece called Scarface, and I think we should talk about The Departed.
Okay, I'll admit, I haven't seen Scarface, the original Scarface.
I haven't either, but I think we should.
Okay, you see, here's the thing. I think
there's similarities with that too.
Decide the movie before we kind of compare, put them together, because I think there needs to be more of a connection besides just the fact that they're both gangster movies.
If you think about it, there is a comparison with that, and I won't spoil the movie, but there is a comparison with that in The Departed.
Well, like, what do you mean?
There's a comparison because in the film, Martin Scorsese said in The Departed that in Scarface, there's a thing on the wall that says X. They market all the X's in The Departed to signify death.
Yeah, okay, but that's more of just a small technique as not really an overarching theme throughout the whole film.
Okay.
So, like, I think I don't mind doing one on gangster movies because I love gangster movies.
I do too. I'm making one.
Yeah, so you know what? I'll watch Scarface, and then I'll try to find Scarface, and we'll kind of debate on that. But if we don't do Scarface in that, I would like 500 Days of Summer and Annie Hall. They're both. Okay. Have you seen both of those movies?
I have seen both of them.
Yeah, because they're both, romantic comedies that, take things not only out of order, but they have like weird scenes. Annie Hall's a weird scene where it's all animated or it's all subtitled, but with like different words than what the characters are actually saying, And 500 Days of Summer has that great reality versus expectations scene,
Okay, so for next time, we're going to talk about discussing that. But for this time, I'm actually going to have you pick a number.
Okay.
And we're going to pick a number between 1 and 10. And if I get it right, we do Scarface and The Departed. If I get it wrong, we do Annie Hall, 500 Days of Summer. Does that sound fair?
Okay.
Okay. Think of a number between 1 and 10. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm going 7.
I was saying you think of the number.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I was actually about to say 7 too.
Dang it!
I was about to say 7.
Okay, I've got my number.
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. 6.
You were so close.
What is it?
It's 7.
Fuck. God damn it, Caleb. So we are going to be doing Annie Hall and 500 Days of Summer next week.
Yeah.
Are you okay with a week 3? Because obviously we'll be talking horror films. But week 3, we do Scarface and The Departed.
I want to do a gangster movie for week 3. But let's look at some different gangster movies. I'll watch Scarface, and we'll figure out.
I'll do Scarface too because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so I'll watch Scarface. I'll watch a couple other gangster movies, and we'll figure out. I'm gonna watch some James Cagney gangster movies like Public Enemy, White Heat. Those.
Watch the Roaring Twenties too.
Yeah, I haven't seen Roaring Twenties, so I'll look at that one. And maybe some gangster. Maybe we might talk about. I know one of your favorite movies, Mean Streets.
My favorite movie.
Oh, that's your favorite movie. Oh yeah, I haven't seen Mean Streets, so I think
I have it on. Actually, give me 1 second. If you are interested, maybe we should talk about doing a commentary live on the YouTube stream, and we'll watch like movies we haven't one of us seen and one of us haven't.
I don't know. We'll talk about that off air. That's more of a different.
I actually.
So why don't we?
Yep, favorite film is Mean Streets. Yep, that's my favorite movie.
Yeah. Okay, but so next week we've got Annie Hall and 500 Days of Summer, and the week after that we're gonna have 2 gangster movies. We don't quite know yet, but we know 2 gangster movies. So, Chris, why don't you tell the good people where they can find you?
The good people can find me here on the Chris on Movies podcast channel. That is the new name of the channel. Now, we're going to try to do more podcasts, maybe even a commentary show. I want to do more podcasts. I think we should get more people who I think are terrific in their movie knowledge, and we should get them making shows. I would love to see Cameron Haas do a show here. I really want to see Cameron Haas do a show here or something. So we'll try to see what we can do. Boatman over here, I'm going to say he's kind of my technical producer. He helps me out with shit with the show and stuff. So I would say that you can find Boatman kicking my ass probably this Thursday on the Teams Leagues. But I would say I actually think we're going to be doing really well because I have a really good team partner. But it'll be the Young Bucks versus the Men from U.N.C.L.E. So look forward to that. You can check out my short film Alone, nominated for 5 short film awards, and recently nominated for an acting award for me for Best Actor, which is incredible. I mean, the 4 performances alone make me feel like I'm not even supposed to be in the contentions. That's how good the performances are this year. You guys can check out the short film awards December 12th. Haven Pendergast is official. Haven Pendergast will be hosting. Caleb is going to be presenting one of the awards as well as I am, and I'm up for a nomination. So expect a lot of roasting. I'm actually considering putting Caleb for Best Actor because I can't give away because I already know the winners because I'm not in the voting, but I collect the tallies. But yes. But that being said, guys, you can find us here next week. I don't know what day we're going to plan on this week. Have you decided what day we're going to plan on this every week?
So we'll figure that out. We'll announce that. But as for right now, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Caleb Boatman. I do Schmodown reactions there. If you're familiar with the movie Trivia Schmodown, you can find me on the Jack of All Trivia channel doing my show that I do with my teammate Cameron Haas. It's called Schmodown Countdown. It's another Schmodown related show. We take a topic and it's like the top 10 show. If you're familiar with that, you can find now on Saturday nights Schmodown All Access, hosted by the great Christopher Michael Woodburn.
Yes.
Please check that show out. And you
I'm
can
on there.
find me playing, as Chris said, trivia matches on Jack of All Trivia. This week we've got a team match coming up. So from Chris Day, from myself, from Jack, or from, I don't know. Bye. Goodbye.